Excuse me. Ooh, yummy.
In the next 2.5 months, we're gonna be getting a new car. We're finally getting rid of the insanely expensive lease that we have, and gonna go to possibly buying a used car. When I say buying, I mean buying, meaning owning, rather than, having this lease. The bottom line is when we got this car, well, first of all, I got this very expensive car about 5 years ago. At that point, I was at the height of my YouTube career, no lie. I was making a lot of money, and it was very much within my budget back then to be able to afford it. But, yeah, about, 5 years ago, ended up getting this really nice car, of course, under a lease. The reason I got it under a lease was 2 reasons. Number one, because the previous car I'd had was a piece of shit that I bought used. It ended up being a lemon, a money pit, that I basically bought the car 3 times over the course of the time that I had it on maintenance, because the thing just kept breaking down.
Oh my god. Excuse me.
So, I said if I get a lease, at least I'm under this contract that if anything goes wrong, the maintenance is included, okay? Number 2, because I realized at that time, 5+ years ago, actually in actuality it was 5.5 years ago at this point, okay? I realized that I wasn't always gonna be making that kind of crazy money that I was making at that point. And incidentally, boy, was it a great decision, because take a look at now, where I'm in financial straits, dire financial straits, and really scraping by. I pretty much was like, well, let me do this, because I know the lease is only a few years, and that way if I have a decline in income, I can just get something cheaper afterward, rather than, oh, I own it, and now I'm stuck with that high payment all the time, okay? So, I had that car for about 2.5 years, and then, after that, when I was moving across the country, basically the lease was going to run out in about 6 months. So I had 6 months left on the lease. And I contacted, the dealership, and I was like, listen, I actually would like to just get rid of this car and get a cheaper one. Since we're moving across the country, we're going to have a lot of expenses and everything. And they were like, well, listen, basically too bad. If you do this, if you try to trade it in early, you're going to end up with a bunch of early termination fees, taxes. Basically what they wrote it out for me, it was going to end up being like $2,000 to $3,000 to trade in the car early, which at that time, when I moved here 3 years ago, I was like, well, I don't have $3,000 to just drop on you. I have all this money I have to spend on the move. I mean, the movers alone to move across the country were astronomically expensive, okay? So, I said, listen, whatever we can do. So they said, all right, we'll make you a deal. We'll give you a new lease that will be basically the same payments of what you've been paying all along. They won't really go up. And we'll waive all of those early termination fees, alright? But you have to take a new car. Now, at that time, 3 years ago, I was making a certain amount of money on YouTube. It wasn't as much as I had been making originally when I had gotten this lease with the car, but it was still financially feasible to take this lease on. And I was like, alright, this will be the last time I do it. I already had decided. I was like, this is going to be the last time I do it because the lease is expensive, and honestly, we don't drive enough. We get enough benefit out of having a luxury-style car to warrant paying this much. And it was always one of the things that I said, this will be one of the first things we change once this lease expires. So, yeah, that was the deal. And that's what happened. They gave us a new lease to waive all the fees, and now that lease is finally expiring. So, it expires in late June? Yeah, so in late June, we'll be having to trade or return this car.
And get a new one.
So what we're going to actually do, starting the next few weeks, we're going to start going to the car dealerships around here, the local ones, and we're going to see what they have, used car-wise, and basically compare what they have available price-wise and quality-wise, and end up getting something from around here.
And we are looking to buy because it makes more sense to buy rather than lease. Oh, shout out to Nuka-Cola King, who did 100-bit cheery. Says, Feliz cumpleaños. Well, gracias, amigo. Oh, my nose. Indeed, today is my birthday. I am 35 years of age. I know a lot of people speculate about how old I am, which is kind of funny. Because I've always been transparent about that. I've never, hidden my age or anything like that. But I am actually streaming on my birthday.
As you get older, you realize that your birthday, even though it's nice to celebrate it and to look back and to reminisce a bit, it's not exactly the most special of occasions. The older you get, the more you realize that it's just kind of another day. And, a lot of my life I've ended up either working or going to school or whatever on my birthday. It's not like I had a day off.
Oh my god, excuse me. the past few days, I made more money on Twitch than I did on YouTube.
And this is my goal. My goal is ultimately that as I stream here on Twitch, that this becomes my primary focus, and I end up making Twitch my primary source of income, while YouTube kind of becomes the supplementary income, okay?
Ugh. Yeah, I've been having sinus issues because it is that time of year, folks. It is the spring. Spring has sprung, and things are starting to bloom and everything, and once the pollen starts to come out, my nose starts to stuff up, so...